What is up, my butter biscuits? In today's video, I look so haggard, y'all, because I went to Vegas and I came back sick. So I literally look a mess. This eye is like super red. I don't know what's going on with that. And I'm very nasally. But within today's video, we're going to be talking about James Charles because he did do an interview with Cosmopolitan that has everybody talking. I don't know if this was a good business move. I want to say, in my personal opinion, just right off the bat, I feel like he was doing this because supposedly he's going to be coming out with his makeup line Painted next month. So I feel like he did this interview in hopes to like get him talked about. But it has a lot of people questioning a lot of things. And I do want to say just right from the jump, there's one thing about this interview that I was like, whoa, maybe that wasn't good. You know what I'm saying? Because he does say in this interview that his brother hasn't talked to him for 2 years now. And I feel like, I don't know, I find that to be a little suspicious. Only because I want to say, in my personal opinion, if all these allegations were false, don't you think that his brother would be standing by his side? Do you know what I'm saying? So it is a little bit telling that his brother hasn't talked to him in 2 years. That's just my opinion. You know what I'm saying? You guys know here on my channel, like I rarely talk about James Charles and his allegations only because I don't want to fall into that hole of like the false stuff. Do you know what I mean? Because when everything was coming out, there was a lot of fake stuff. There was so many fake DMs between James Charles and somebody, and people were making up stuff obviously just for views on TikTok. And I do think that that sucks because there was actually some real people that did have stories to tell. However, all of these fakes were coming out and I was like, whoa, let me not talk about this, let me not make a video about this, only because it could be very damaging. Do you know what I'm saying? And I feel like I don't want to talk about anything that could potentially be fake. However, this is a full-on interview from James Charles himself, so we're going to be talking about that within today's video. Also, y'all, I do have new exciting good videos up on my second channel, so make sure you guys click the link down below. Go show some love over there. I put a lot of work into them, and there's a couple more really good ones coming up soon, so make sure you guys go give a thumbs up over there, give a thumbs up here if you guys like this video. Let me shut up, let's go ahead and get into it. Also giving you guys a warning before getting into it, my throat is really scratchy, so I may have to take a lot of pauses because I have a lot of reading to do. I'm not going to be reading the full interview, just letting you guys know that, because it's really long. And on top of that too, I just feel like there's only a certain amount of things that I want to like read and get your guys' opinions about. If you guys do want to check out the full article, it is on cosmopolitan.com. So make sure you guys go check that out if you guys want to. Let me shut up. Let's go ahead and get into it. Also, before getting into this interview right here, there is a lot of words that I don't know if I can say here on YouTube, so I may have to like blur them out as well as not say the word. I feel like it really sucks here on YouTube that everything is just so censored, you know? And I feel like if you're reading an article, you should be able to read the word, you know what I mean? That way people don't have to try to like put two and two together here. And there's so many like terms now for things like SA, for example, that are obviously used here on YouTube for that reason. And I'm like, y'all, I didn't know what it was for the longest time. So I'm like literally thinking, when I first heard essay in a video, I was thinking, why would you write an essay about this? I was literally thinking of like a written essay. Do you know what I mean? So I do feel like it sucks that you have to use like abbreviations. So I do apologize going into this that I may not be able to say some of these words. They may have to be bleeped out or not said or like, you know what I mean? Abbreviated, I guess. Just letting you guys know. Anyway, starting this out right here, it says in big bold letters, James Charles would like to be uncanceled, please. Also, do you guys feel like James Charles is canceled? I do see him on TikTok and it still seems like he is getting like millions of views. I don't watch his YouTube videos, so I don't really know if he's getting a lot of sponsorships or if he's working with a lot of brands. I don't know if a lot of brands have him like blacklisted. Let me know down below. I'm really curious if you guys feel in your personal opinion that he is canceled. Anyways, this is what it says right here starting off. It is the year of our internet, 2023, and as surely as the sun rises, an internet celebrity has an apology to make. So here I am, sitting in James Charles' Encino mansion like a pop culture priest, ready to take his confession. Let us begin. This is a quote from James Charles. I don't want to sit here and fucking mope and whine and cry because nobody wants to hear it, says Charles, sinking into a plush couch in his casual open living room. I had to do a lot of thinking, like, okay, babe, this is your fault. No, you're not a P word. No, you're not a effing G word. No, you're not a P word, other P word, but you made a big mistake. This is what I'm saying too. Like, I want to just read the article, but then I'm just like, let me not get in trouble here on YouTube, y'all. I need my channel. Anyways, moving on. At this point, you're likely familiar with the specific quid pro inherent in celebrity profiles like this. The ones that come together post-cancellation after a respectable amount of time has passed post-cancelable sin. It's no surprise that a star's willingness to answer intimate questions about a catastrophic stretch of their lives increases dramatically when they have a project to promote. In today's case, the y'all, that's a lot of these words. Whenever I read these articles, I'm just like, damn, y'all, I'm stupid. I should have stayed in school because I'm like, what? That's ostensibly ostensibly Charles' new makeup line, Painted. But it's also Charles himself, a warrior, another word don't know, acceptably contribute, but still just a little extra Charles. This very interview is to be a trial balloon. Its reception, the answer to the question both of us and maybe you too, if what auto-populates in Google search can be believed, are here to ask, is James Charles still canceled? I guess that is the big question here, and I guess maybe that's why he did this interview, because he is coming out with his makeup line. I feel like this whole thing was obviously to drive promotion for Painted. I just don't know if it was a good move. I do feel like he was probably going with the whole, notion of like any publicity is good publicity, but I feel like this raises a lot of questions and has a lot of people talking negatively, and I don't know if that's a good thing business wise. To be quite honest with you guys, if I had went through similar things like him, I would have just came out with my makeup line and just that's it. You know what I mean? I wouldn't have done this interview. That's just me though. But you guys let me know down below. There's a lot writing on the answer. Painted, a solo venture 4 years in the making, launches in just a few weeks. People have speculated that I have partners or investors, which I don't know how that rumor got started, which I do want to say I have never seen any rumors that James Charles has any type of like investors. Anyways, Charles says, this line is fully self-funded. Every single dollar that has gone into the brand has been from my personal savings and checking account. I have no investors, no partners, no billion-dollar backers behind me. I do want to say maybe that is a little bit of shade towards like Patrick Starr and maybe like Jeffree Star, because it is said before that Jeffree Star does have a partner. Patrick Starr doesn't even own his own makeup line. I do believe it is a third party that works. I forget the name of that owns his brand. It has been said before that supposedly he only makes like 10% of sales from his brand, which I don't know if that's true, but it is technically owned by somebody else. Anyways, this is another thing that I wanted to say right here, because I'm really curious your guys' thoughts and opinions about this. In big bold lettering right here, the I always want to say editor, but it's not the editor. The journalist says right here, when I polled friends and colleagues about Charles in the run up to this day, the general consensus was that he had done something bad, but no one was clear on exactly what. Now, I do want to say, obviously, like there may be some questions about it, only because a lot of stuff did come out to be fake, but doesn't everybody pretty much know why he was quote unquote canceled? Do you know what I mean? Because let's keep it real, like he made a video, then he said that he did do some wrongdoing. Do you know what I mean? So I'm like, I don't know, only because I do feel like this piece was actually done like in complete favor of him, rather than asking like hard-hitting questions. I feel like if I was a journalist, I would be asking like some hard-hitting questions, like why'd you do this and why'd you do that? You know what I mean? So that way you can get a real general raw, like, or genuine, not general, a genuine raw, interview with the person. So that way you can really see like, okay, are they owning up to this? Are they admitting to it? Are they growing from this? Are they learning from this? Do you know what I mean? Anyways, moving on. As a very online millennial, I had long been ambiently aware of Charles while also knowing next to nothing about him. The influencer's platonic ideal. Bored at home during the pandemic, I watched the Dramageddon feud he had with another YouTuber whose name I can never remember. I do want to say I feel like that is really petty and really shady, because she is saying that she obviously watched the whole Dramageddon feud. She's talking about Tati Westbrook, and to go and say whose name I can never remember, I'm like, okay, that's a little petty. Anyways, a hilariously non-scandal scandal that possibly had something to do with hair vitamins. Anecdotally, it seems like everyone in my life under the age of 25 considers Charles an internet celebrity, and no one over 45 has never even heard of him unless they have kids. Those in the former group know that he's been famous since his teen years, although his storylines, so to speak, are self-produced, or all self-produced, sorry. In February 2021, at age 21, Charles confronted a career crisis he couldn't quickly apologize for or capitalize on. He was publicly accused of sending lewd photographs and inappropriate messages to a then 16-year-old fan. Charles says he was misled into believing the boy who was 18 and that he blocked him as soon as he learned the truth. I've never been more disgusted in my life when I found out that kid was 16 years old, Charles says now. I was mortified, absolutely mortified. The fan did not return Cosmopolitan's request for comment. I do want to say I feel like it sucks obviously in this situation, because obviously there is a lot of people that will lie about their age and stuff like this because they want the opportunity to speak to an internet celebrity. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like it does suck, because obviously at the end of the day you shouldn't lie about your age, but also on top of that too, if somebody looks young, do you know what I mean? You're at that like fine line of like, okay, you look really young, let me just ask, send me a picture of your ID. If you don't want to send a picture, then that's a little fishy. Do you know what I mean? Anyways, moving on here. In the end, substantiated or not, multiple media reports indicated that at least 15 boys and men had accused Charles of inappropriate behavior. Charles says now about the breadth of the allegations. The source of where the list came from was not doing any sort of research, no fact checking. Some of the screenshots depicted consensual conversations between adults, he says. Others were completely fake and never even happened. Charles has never been legally charged with engaging inappropriately with a minor, let alone proven to have knowingly done so. This is where I say during that time, I just would not make any videos about that type of stuff, only because I did see so many fake screenshots coming forward. And then on top of that too, so many like full-on adults, you know what I mean? I do want to say there was one person who was actually like 22. I want to say it was like, he was like a year older, and he was even posting screenshots, and I'm like, what, you guys are throwing this in? Like, there's what's wrong with a 21-year-old talking to a 22-year-old? You know what I mean? I was like, this is where I'm getting a little bit confused here. There was just way too much coming out. Anyways, moving on here. Nevertheless, that April, Charles uploaded a 14-minute YouTube video titled Holding Myself Accountable, where he admitted to inadvertently exchanging messages with two 16-year-old boys he said he was led to believe were 18, and he apologized for his desperate behavior. This is where I want to say I personally feel like this made James Charles look really, really bad, because it was multiple people that were underage, you know what I mean? Being that it was two, if it was one, I think people would have been like, okay, that's unfortunate. This person should not have lied about their age. But then you do get into this fine line of like, okay, if somebody says that they're 18, you're right at that cusp of like, are you really 18 though? Do you know what I mean? Like, you should like definitely check, you know? Also, I want to say too, like, do you guys feel like it is weird, say for example, if he was 21 at the time, to even talk to an 18-year-old? I don't know, because I've seen people saying that before too, but then I'm like, that's only a 3-year age difference. So is that really bad? I don't really know, y'all. To be quite honest with you guys, I prefer older. And y'all, a little side note here. I literally dated younger for the first time, which was my ex. He's 4 years younger than me. And I just like, no, never again in my life. I literally y'all should see all my dating profiles. I'm like, no. You need to be like my age or older. You know what I mean? Preferably older. Cause woo, that ended up in disaster. So no, thank you. Anyways, Cosmopolitan reached out to multiple people who said they were minors at the time of their exchanges with Charles. One asked if we would be willing to pay and did not reply again when told our publication does not compensate sources for interviews. But another former accuser wrote back via Instagram DM with a new revelation. He said, already privately apologized to Charles a few months ago for telling him I was 18 a few years ago and the TikTok I made that blew the situation up. When asked to elaborate, the person did not reply. Charles' team says someone did message Charles this spring admitting he lied about his age. See, that's where I feel like, damn, it kind of sucks. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, people did make the mistake, but then obviously, you as an adult, you got to, like, check people's age. You know what I mean? He was at that, like, awkward age, I feel like, of what I said. Say, for example, there was somebody in my school who was 18 and his girlfriend was 16, and, like, everyone was like, y'all need to break up. And I'm like, but they've been together before he turned 18. The girl was still 16. Do you know what I mean? They had been together while he was, like, in high school. She was in, middle school. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, oh, 2 years obviously ain't that bad. But then when you're 18 and 16, people are like, whoa, like break up. And they ended up breaking up. So I'm like, this is a really tricky topic, I feel like. Anyways, moving on. This is a quote from James Charles. I absolutely did fuck up, he says, but he denies that he ever engaged in grooming, a practice defined by the anti-sexual violence organization RAIN as manipulative behaviors that an abuser uses to gain access to a potential victim, coerce them to agree to the abuse, and reduce the risk of being caught. Charles continues, I feel like that word is a very popular buzzword right now, especially in politics and stuff, but the actual meaning of it has been so misconstrued. Referring to the first allegation against him, he adds, the conversation lasted 1 hour. I don't know this person. I've never met this person. Nothing happened between me and this actual person. So to use that word is so categorically incorrect. I do want to say I understand where he's coming from. Obviously, when you meet a person for just 1 hour, it's kind of like, okay, people are calling me this G word, but then it's kind of like, I knew this person for 1 hour and I'm like, whoa, come to find out this person lied about their age. Totally get that. Here's where I ask you guys the question. Don't you guys feel like it's a power dynamic right there, though, that the actual term can be used a little bit different, being that he is obviously an internet celebrity with millions of followers? Don't you think that there is a little bit of a difference because he is super famous? Do you know what I mean? Do you then say, okay, the 16-year-old was wrong at this point? Or do you say, okay, you have millions of fans, obviously this person's going to write back to you and they're going to lie about their age? I don't know. I understand what he's saying, but then obviously you do need to understand that you do have a power dynamic with this person. You know what I mean? Because you are rich and famous. Anyways, moving on. His YouTube page was demonetized. He did not return as the host of Instant Influencer, and his other business ventures languished. He and Morphe, an influencer-focused beauty brand with which he partnered on an eyeshadow palette and brushes, cut ties. Charles' team says this was done at their own request after they saw Morphe getting backlash for associating with Charles. Charles told me he pocketed a small amount from the deal that allowed him to buy his house and pay off his parents' mortgage. One estimate put his total loss of income in the millions. I do want to say it was a small amount. Like, come on, you paid off your parents' mortgage, and on top of that too, you bought yourself a multi-million-dollar house. I'm sure he probably got like $10 million from that. I'm sure he took a big loss losing Morphe. Anyways, moving on here. I think I've always been somebody who's been able to cope, he continues. I've been able to turn off my phone, go to see my family, to have friends over, go to an escape room, watch a fun movie, play Mario Kart, play Minecraft, build a Lego set. With this situation, it was really scary because my coping mechanisms weren't coping. It was the first time where I was like, oh fuck, I actually don't know what to do here. I eventually got to a point where I was like, this is not healthy, this is not good, this is getting to a really fucking dark place. The fallout became deeply personal when his younger brother, who works as a model in New York City, stopped talking to him because of the allegations. It's now been 2 years since they last spoke, Charles says. This is where I say I'm like, whoa, this raises a little bit of a red flag right here. Either his brother is not really understanding that these are allegations, or there is something that we don't know. Because I'm just like, why is his brother just going to cut him off that quick and stop talking to him, especially for 2 years? That's a long time. Do you know what I mean? So that's where I say, I'm like, that part right there in the interview, it raises a couple questions to me personally. I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but when I first read that, when I first read that, I was like, that's a little bit weird. Do you know what I mean? Only because I know my little brother would not do that to me. Do you know what I mean? And I wouldn't do that to him. If these are allegations, I'm like, hold on, let me see what's the truth, what's not the truth. And I'm obviously going to be there to support my brother if these are all false allegations. Do you know what I mean? So I'm like, what's going on here? I don't know. You guys let me know your thoughts and opinions about that because I'm really curious to know what you guys have to say. Moving on. This is the last part right here. Also, by the way, just in case I didn't explain it earlier, I took bits and pieces of it. The full article is there on cosmopolitan.com if you guys want to read it. And now there's Painted, his biggest business swing yet. The first product, Create Paint, is a set of cream colors in 10 shades encased in tubes to look like art supplies. Designed for use on the eyes, face, and body, the paints are made from a wet lipstick-esque formula that dries matte, Charles explains. You could use them in a billion different ways, he says. They can be used differently, used by different people of different skill levels, no matter how long you've been doing makeup, no matter what you look like, no matter what your skin tone is. He takes me to his basement, which is converted from an indoor pool into the studio where he films most of his videos and dabs some on my hand so I can feel the silky texture for myself. He begins expertly brushing some hot pink paint onto his eyelids, describing each step like he's filming a Get Ready With Me, and I suddenly feel as if I'm inside the algorithm. Charles tells me he has labored over every part of his project himself, from the formulation to the packaging to the price, and to pouring his creativity into it has been y'all, another word I don't know, reprieve from his everything else. Reprieve, I don't know. Anyways, that's pretty much it. The last part that I wanted to read right there, because obviously this was one big deal to talk about his whole, brand new makeup line. I do want to say, first of all, two things. I don't know if that was a good business move because now obviously everybody is bringing up everything else and it's like having him talked about in a negative way. So I'm like, why would you do that? How do you think that was smart? Like I said, maybe he is going with the notion of any publicity is good publicity. Maybe he just wanted people to talk about his name. Maybe he wanted his name trending because of this article, because it did blow up on on Twitter. A lot of people were quote tweeting the Cosmopolitan article like, what? You know what I'm saying? Also, the second thing, when we're talking about makeup, I don't know if it was really good of him to come out with a product that is a little bit more on the difficult side to use. I know obviously he's trying to market it as like anybody could use it, but paints like that, what he's referring to, are not really commonly used. You know what I'm saying? By the everyday person. I do own some really good ones by Makeup Forever. I want to say they are called the Aqua XL paints. They're really good. And I do want to say I like a type of product like that, but not everybody's going to want to use it. So I'm kind of like, why'd you come out with that product first? It's a little bit, I don't know, it's a little bit different. And on top of that too, I do feel like it is really difficult. People are going to see that and be like, what? Unless you're like super into graphic liner, unless you're into body paints and stuff like that, this is not really a commonly used product. But I do think he wanted to come out with something that was going to be a little bit different from what other brands came up with at first, because most brands typically come out with like an eyeshadow palette or a lipstick. He wanted to come out with something different. But I personally don't think that that's going to go over too well for him, only because not that many people are using paints like that. Do you know what I mean? Anyways, overall, I'm really curious to know your guys' thoughts and opinions about this whole article. Do you guys think it was good of him to make this or do this interview. I really personally feel like it might have been a really bad decision for him, in my personal opinion. Are you guys going to be supporting Painted? I personally probably will not, unless he comes out with a product in the future. Maybe that's like, I need to have it, but I kind of doubt that. I can definitely tell you I'll pass on some paints, that's for sure. Make sure you guys let me know down below what you think, if you guys plan on purchasing from the line. I definitely will do a my thoughts and opinions video about Painted as soon as he does the whole reveal. I do want to say the little commercials that he's been doing on Painted, as far as like his reels, they have been really creative. I do want to say that it's cool of him to like step out of the box and do something a little bit different, but I don't know how the sales are going to do. Anyways, make sure you guys let me know your thoughts and opinions about everything. I'll catch you guys in my next video. Peace out, Girl Scout.